Welcome to the Win, Make, Give podcast. This is Ben Kinney, joined with Chad Hyams, Bob Stewart, and ladies and gentlemen, you never hear him, you never see him, you probably will never beat him, the man behind the microphones, Dave Weldon. Ladies and gentlemen, give some applause.
Yeah.
I want to give Dave credit for all the hard work.
Don't worry, Dave will cut in some massive applause right there, I'm pretty sure.
He needs credit for all the hard work he does behind the scenes.
Yes.
Dave, we're going to make you famous. There's going to be women and men just pounding on your doors, throwing you roses and chocolates. It's going to be chaos.
Hope your wife's ready.
This is the 99th episode of the Win, Make, Give podcast.
Yay!
They say life's a journey. This has been a journey. 99 episodes, ladies and gentlemen. If you've gotten this far, you're a diehard. We are very impressed, and we appreciate your contributions and your listening and the community that's been created around Win, Make, Give. But on to more important subjects. What in the hell are you going to learn today? Today, we are going to talk about playing long-term games. Dave,
Cut.
don't edit that. Just leave that in there so everybody can hear that I'm actually a stuttering buffoon, which, true story, Bob and Chad, I had to go through speech therapy for years and years as a kid because I stuttered so bad. So it still shows up sometimes. Just Dave edits it out and makes us sound good. Today we're going to talk about playing long-term games.
Yes.
Games like board games.
Monopoly.
That's a long-term game.
That is truly a long-term game. I read this message from this gentleman who we're gonna talk about today. He said all the returns in life, whether in wealth, relationships, or knowledge, come from compound interest. Now, this is a very interesting quote because we talk a lot about compound interest. You know, how to get rich, how to build wealth, you know, the benefits of real estate and investing and all those sort of things. But we've had, 20 episodes on money and wealth, and we've had 80 episodes on business and leadership and success and health and stories of other people that have been through the journey. Those are also lessons that benefit from compounding. Now, one of my favorite podcasts of all time is Simple. And the episodes are roughly 2 or 3 minutes long, and I highly recommend it.
Probably one of the reasons it's one of your favorites.
Yeah, for sure, right? I like anything that lasts 3 minutes.
I can't.
The Naval podcast, Naval.
Yes.
And Naval, or Naval Ravikant, very famous in the world and very intellectual and very successful in his own career. He is famous for doing these things that you would call today a tweet storm, just a combination of either question and answers or just thoughts that he has. And there's been books. I think that there's actually a book called the Naval Almanac, and it kind of digests some of his messages. So we're going to walk through some of the things that he shared in this tweet storm and just have a conversation about it. And I'll go fast through some, we'll slow down for others, and chime in, gentlemen, as something pops into your mind about this. Or
Do you know why it was probably a tweet storm that his social media of choice?
Well, because of the company he came from.
Yeah, he invested in early stages in over 200 companies, and Twitter happened to be one of them. Yeah,
absolutely.
Uber, Twitter, Postmates, Thumbtacks. I mean, lots of companies that we all know. That's who this guy is. For those of you who go, Ben says he's famous. I've never heard his name.
The founder of Angels List, right?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, you might not know him, yet you know the companies that he has helped make famous.
Yeah, Angel List. Well, it's not plural. Angels List is a whole other type of website, I think,
my
Bob.
bad. Angel List.
This is going to be the world's shittiest 99th episode of all time.
We will redeem ourselves with 100.
Yeah, totally. And then we're going to end this, ladies and gentlemen. That'll be the end of season 1, and we are done. Okay. He said, pick an industry where you can play long-term games with long-term people. I think that's a really powerful statement. Like, who wants to be in an industry that's not going to last very long? That's like Beanie Babies. Right? Like, that was really, really cool. It just didn't last very long. What was the video game where you walked around for like a month? Everybody was walking around town.
Pokemon Go or whatever.
Yeah.
It's still out
not
there.
a long-term game.
Still out there. And that's one of the interesting challenges. We don't always know what those are. Technology could come along and poof, something you thought was a long-term. I mean, Blockbuster logically was a long-term game at the time.
Yeah.
They just didn't adapt and stay relevant with it.
I think, Ben, one of your industries is real estate, and it may change the way it's done or whatever, but people are always going to need a house to live in, right? So in that regard, we're definitely in an industry that's a long-term game.
Unless the world blows up, there's still going to be real estate.
Yes.
Right.
And people need to eat. So there's a food industry, probably a long-term game there. I think the key in there isn't necessarily the long-term game industry. I think it's the long-term people.
Yeah. Are you willing to get into business with people that are going to be around for a really, really long time? Like, we aren't signing up for this tender of partnerships. We're signing up for this long-term relationship to build great and amazing things together. Now, Naval said, you need to arm yourself with specific knowledge, accountability, and leverage. And he goes on to talk about what specific knowledge is. And let me read through a couple of these and we can talk about it. Specific knowledge is knowledge you cannot be trained for. If society can train you, it can train someone else to replace you.
I like that.
You think about that, right? I had a conversation this morning with some of our executives, and I said, what do you guys believe everybody's job is here? And they said, well, what do you mean? I said, I pay everybody, in my mind, a fair salary. If it wasn't a fair salary, I figured they would go somewhere else and they would do something else. So they are making what they made prior to coming to our company or more, and if they've been with us a while, it's grown. I pay for their time to show up. I don't reward them for just showing up. What I want them to do is I want them to improve things. Our job, whatever we're paid to show up for, is to increase the value of the company and improve things over time. So what would it be like if we asked our people, what is it that you're going to improve in your position, in your role in the company or for our customers this month? Because just doing the job over and over again, that's what gets replaced with software. That's what gets replaced with a machine. Like, imagine our grandfathers were printing out rims for vehicles, right? And they worked hard and they did the same thing every day. I made 40 rims today, and the rims got sent out and sent out and sent out. But pretty soon somebody woke up and said, I don't need those guys. They're not improving the rims, right? They're just making rims, and that can be duplicated by a machine that just prints out rims.
Yep.
Right? Easily gets replaced. If society can train you, Naval said, it can train someone else and replace you.
That's great. I mean, that's just powerful right there.
He also said specific knowledge is found by pursuing your genuine curiosity and passion rather than whatever is hot right now. I talked about this in our road trip episode, our Turning Right, where we get distracted with what everybody else is doing and we forget what we've always done that's made us successful. You can get so caught up on what the new fancy code base is, or what the new thing in your industry, or what the new social network, or the new type of marketing, and that kind of stuff, and get so distracted that you leave what made you great, or you leave your primary focus. But he said specific knowledge is found by pursuing genuine curiosity and passion, which I think we do because we hire people that are passionate about home ownership or software or real estate or investing or mortgage or whatever businesses we're in. We go out and find people that love it. And you can see, can't you, Bob, the difference between somebody in our company that loves our customers, loves our industry, and loves our product?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the things that I think there, Ben, is our mission is what keeps us focused, right? Because we're passionate about it. So it keeps us focused. So we're gaining specific knowledge in this industry that we're in because we're passionate about it, but our mission keeps us focused on it.
Yep. Naval said, building specific knowledge will feel like play to you, but will look like work to others. Last night, I don't know what time it was last night. Bob, you and I were texting back and forth talking about another piece of software out there.
Yeah. It was 11 o'clock.
11 o'clock at night, Bob and I, right, with a lot of people like, gosh, you're working at 11 o'clock at night? It didn't feel like it.
No. I'm like, dude, that's really cool. They do that. Like, we should totally rip that off. And
yeah.
I'm like, well, I don't know about that. Yeah, like it was, to me, like I was.
Because pursuing your curiosity of our competitors and of other industries and your passion around our company, what we do, and how we help our clients and our customers, right?
It's funny, Ben, my wife has asked me one time, how do you, she said, don't you get bored at work? Like, because we're working from home together now, right? So she can hear me downstairs. There's certain things like when I train our teams and stuff, she hears me and it to her, it sounds like the same thing, but I'm like, I don't get bored at all. Like, what are you talking? Like, it was actually caught me off guard a little bit. And she's like, well, it seems like you're always doing the same thing. And I said, Aaron, I could show up at work tomorrow. I could do whatever I wanted. Like I could be curious about this thing. I could go over here and work here. So when you're passionate about it, when it feels like play, like, no, I've never once like shown up and felt like, man, I'm bored of this.
And you can hear the passion coming out of Bob when he's doing a webinar or training or working with people. His hands are flinging all over the place, right? And before video, his hands were still flinging all over the place. Like you would think that he was doing some sort of a dance.
I'm glad we're social distance just recording the podcast because one of us would have had a black eye from him swinging his arms around.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. Naval said, when specific knowledge is taught, it's through apprenticeship, not through schools.
Amazing again, right? So short, such a short thought, but so powerful. Again, if you're learning it in school, so is the person sitting to your left, so is the person sitting to your right, so is the person who's coming the next year after you. You can be replaced. Going out in the field and actually studying under somebody who's doing that already, you're going to learn things that no one else is going to learn that they're not going to be able to replace you.
I was talking to somebody yesterday, and I was saying about this specific message right here. It might have been Chris Suarez or Brian. It was somebody. And we were talking about this, and I said, I know. Like, I would much rather go learn from somebody that's done this a bunch of time than somebody who's smart, who's been taught how to do something but have never done it. And he said, do you know what makes an expert? And I said, yeah, somebody that's done it. He says, is somebody that interviewed somebody else an expert? And I said, no. He said, what about somebody that's interviewed 50 or 100 people on that specific subject? Are they an expert? And I said, honestly, they probably are. One person that pops into my mind is the guy from the How I Built This podcast. Like a guy that's interviewed hundreds of the most successful entrepreneurs, Guy Raz, right, in history. I take advice from him. He has the accumulation of all this knowledge from all these really, really successful people. It's not just book. He has basically had done an apprenticeship in success, right? Which hopefully you guys are getting some of that from us as well as you learn and hear the interviews that Bob and Chad are doing, and you hear our lessons and our models and so on. Next, specific knowledge is often considered highly technical or creative, and it cannot be outsourced or automated. He said there is no skill called business. Avoid business magazines and business classes. Instead, Naval recommends that we study microeconomics, game theory, psychology, persuasion, ethics, mathematics, and computers. So let's stop for a second on this kind of messaging. How many of those subjects have we touched in the first 99 episodes, right? I'm pretty sure we dove into math in the Well series.
Thank God for Bob.
We talk about ethics all the time, right and wrong and winning and losing and all that sort of stuff.
We did an influence and persuasion series.
We did a whole series on influence and persuasion.
8 episodes, 9 episodes.
We talk about psychology all the time, right? We haven't so much dove into the economics or computers But maybe we visit and talk about some things in game theory. We've talked in the past about adding that to our world. Any comments, boys?
I go back where you had gone through it, and you mentioned that it's specific knowledge, highly technical or creative. Again, it's the stuff that can't just be read in a book and you've got it. Highly technical, yeah, you can learn it from a book, but you're going to be learning from a lot of books, and most people aren't going that far. And then creative. And these things allow for that. They're either highly technical or they're creative industries that we're talking in. Persuasion.
He also said, Chad, reading is faster than listening. Unfortunately, he said that's why he doesn't listen to a lot of podcasts, because they're slow and it's actually faster for him to read, right? Doing is faster than watching. Get your hands in there and just try it, right? You're going to learn quicker than sitting on the sidelines forever watching somebody else do it. Okay. He also gave us a little bit of advice in this tweet storm. He said, you should be too busy to do coffee while still keeping an uncluttered calendar. In the Turning Right episode, we talked about how 50% of your time should be unblocked. Yet,
I mean, we've hit on that a lot.
Yeah, yet you should still protect your calendar, because you can't keep that time available, right, if you have everything scheduled. I love the phrase, you should be too busy to do coffee.
In quotes, right? To do coffee is what we're saying here, folks. Now, I think our Starbucks episode is going to be a little disappointed that here we are following that up, talking about you should be too busy to do coffee, as they've created that third space. Yet, absolutely, you should be too busy for that and still keeping an uncluttered calendar, as you've talked about many times.
We're going in chronological order of the tweets that he posted, and I eliminated some that were a little bit more like tech focused and not related to our audience, in my opinion. But the next one he said was set and enforce an aspirational personal hourly rate. If fixing a problem will save less than your hourly rate, ignore it. If outsourcing a task will cost less than your hourly rate, outsource it. This is a very powerful sentence. Few things stand out to me. One, for years and years, I've wrote down the phrase, I care about my hourly rate. I care. It wasn't to have like some sort of sign or to show off to other people. It was to physically, mentally, psychologically remind myself of what I do every minute matters. And if I could use that time on something more productive, I should. Well, the second part of his message, if fixing a problem will save less than your hourly rate, ignore it. Bob, this is a challenge in software and technology.
Yeah.
We have a lot of problems in software and technology. No matter what technology company you talk about, there's always bugs or improvements or features or things, but it doesn't necessarily correlate to the amount of time and resources it takes to fix it.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's better to ignore it and go work on something that would really help your customer
I mean,
base.
I'm if you're one of our clients in that particular vertical, I maybe close your ears for a second, but it's relatively often that I'll say to our dev team as we're kind of assessing what we're going to do, yeah, if that becomes a really big issue, we'll fix it. Like we'll hear a lot about it if it's widespread type of stuff, right?
You know, I think it's interesting, and I don't know why, because I hadn't seen all of these tweets before this conversation. You kind of threw these at us, yet I've talked to 3 different people about that topic today.
Yeah.
I don't know why, that it's come up that people were like, well, how do I know whether I should leverage that off or do it myself? And I said, look, figure out what you make an hour. And for those listening, thank God we have Bob again, take your annual salary. And if you had a job, I'm putting quotes around that, and you worked 40 hours a week, that's about 2,000 hours a year. So you take your income, and if you made $60,000 a year, just to have an easy number, and you work 2,000 hours, Bob, that's
Your $30 an hour is about what you're worth.
So then if you can find someone that's going to do it for $20 an hour, leverage it and put your stuff to your efforts to something else that's going to bring you money.
You have to replace that with action that creates more income. My wife is an amazing, like top-notch salesperson, works at a massive billion-dollar company. Like she's really amazing what she does. Really high hourly rate that she's making. This just happened last night. We're at the grocery store. She sat there for 10 minutes trying to get this like $2 extra coupon to work on the app at the Kroger. Like And this was totally what was ringing through my head. I'm like, we just spent 15 minutes to save $2, Aaron. Like, this doesn't make sense, you know? She should have just ignored it.
If outsourcing a task will cost less than your hourly rate, outsource it.
Yep.
In my mind, there's no job too big to leverage off to somebody else.
Absolutely.
Because I know I can use that newfound time in a way to move the mission forward.
And
Next
that's the key, though.
Yeah.
You've got to move the mission forward, not just then sit on your sofa and say, oh, good,
Well,
someone else is doing
sometimes,
it.
Chad, you know, I fired myself as my pool boy at one point. I fired myself as the gardener. I didn't necessarily replace that time with income. I just watched the football game.
Yeah,
you know?
but
Bob
that was
is-
moving your mission forward. And of course, your wife's glad you have a new pool boy, I'm sure.
And Bob's still my pool boy. Work as hard as you can, even though who you work with and what you work on are more important than how hard you work. Work as hard as you can, even though who you work with and what you work on are more important than how hard you work. I think it's a really profound statement. Working hard and working a lot of hours does not equal success.
Mm-hmm.
Who you work with and what you work on truly does. Well said, Naval.
Where you work.
Embrace accountability and take business risks under your own name. Society will reward you with responsibility, equity, and leverage. Next, leverage is a force multiplier for your judgment. Judgment requires experience, but can be built faster by learning foundational skills. Naval says that fortunes require leverage. Business leverage comes from capital, money, right? People, our talent, and products with no marginal cost of replication. What are you all taking away from what Naval is sharing thus far, Bob?
A lot of what we've talked about lines up with the things that this guy who's a billion-dollar investor, right, is talking about. Just the value of your time, leverage, the specific knowledge that you're earning that you're learning because you are in a job that you're passionate about, and you show up. I mean, it's just this. I feel like has he been listening to the podcast? Maybe Ben is.
Yeah.
No, he reads.
Oh, that's right.
You know, it's interesting here, Ben. You read one of his tweets, which was judgment requires experience, but can be built faster by learning foundational skills. And how many times do people get into a new career, a new profession, maybe their first profession, maybe marriage, life, whatever it is, and they're always asked, well, what's your experience, right? And we don't always have experience, yet we need to be making good judgment. And what he's telling us here is what we all should be realizing is that you can build experience faster by having those foundational skills. And every career, every path, every opportunity, there are some foundational skills to learn, figure out what those are, because that's going to help you create the experience to create the better judgment and move forward. Yeah. Compounding.
Like I look at this last one. We just ended with fortune requires leverage. Business leverage comes from capital, people, and products with no marginal cost of replication. Code, right? Like one of our business lines is software. And the next user we bring on, look, there are some marginal costs for support or whatever. It doesn't cost us anything to run that software out for that next user to come in. And what that does then is it creates that capital that we can reinvest back in the business. That's where the leverage comes from, right? That lever of being able to sell another marginal unit without, with minimal costs, right? It's not like we're selling another car and we had to pay $20,000 to sell the car for $25,000. We're selling code that doesn't matter if we have 10 people using it or 100 people using it. When we have 100, we get the leverage, which becomes capital, right? And we can go hire more people. And this stuff, it doesn't surprise me that a guy like this ends up, being worth billions of dollars because it compounds, right? This stuff just rolls over and over and over and it gets bigger and bigger. And the next time you pull the lever, or the next product you do, the results are outsized.
He said, play iterated games. All returns in life, whether in wealth, relationships, or knowledge, come from compound interest. Naval said, and pay attention to this one, pick business partners with high intelligence, high energy, and above all, high integrity. If you were to think about that and compare, what would somebody with high energy and high integrity but no intelligence be like? What would somebody with high intelligence and high energy and no integrity be like? Criminal or a politician, most likely.
Yeah.
What would somebody with high integrity and high intelligence and no energy be like? They would spend their whole life teaching somebody and no time actually doing, right? We want to look for people who have high intelligence, smart, high energy, they're going to show up, and high integrity, they're going to do the right thing. He said, which one of my favorite messages in this tweet storm, don't partner with cynics and pessimists. Their beliefs are self-fulfilling. Don't partner with cynics and pessimists, Chad. Their beliefs are self-fulfilling. If you look for stuff long enough, you're going to find justification. I had a conversation the other day with somebody who said, I have to go meet with this person, and they had some previous feelings and emotions about it. I said, you're going to walk in and walk out with the same feelings because you already have them. Like, this is already know how this is going to end up. You need to wipe that clean and walk in with an open mind. Otherwise, don't waste your time. Because the person was being cynical and pessimistic, you walk in with the wrong attitude, you're going to find proof of it.
I think one of your strongest, I remember when I first, like one of the first times we ever went out, Ben, when I was actually working with you, I went to a conference and you said, we're going to sell 100 widgets, right? Whatever we're selling there. And after day one, we'd sold 2 widgets. And you're like, it was 4 days, right? You're like, we're going to sell 100. And after day 2, we'd sold 4 widgets. And you're like, we're going to sell 100. That, like, the opposite of being a cynic and a pessimist, to me, is one of your strongest qualities. And by the way, I think we sold 98 widgets or whatever, right?
Yeah,
Like, we had no business selling that, 2 days in, 50% of the way. We were 4% of the way there. But it was that just die-hard optimism and that belief, which is the total, like he's saying, partner with people like that, right? Don't partner with the opposite of that.
It was our strategy, our intelligence, right? It was our integrity that people know that we sell and provide good things. But it was our energy that became contagious over those 4 days that got people to say, I want to be a part of whatever they're doing.
Yeah.
Doesn't that make sense?
Yeah.
And it took us a couple days to explain it. But they raised their hand. Yeah.
I got on this one going to what you just said again, high intelligence, energy, and above all, integrity. So to me, yeah, it's you want all 3. But when push comes to shove, I want someone with integrity sitting across that table from me.
Yeah, but you don't want them low energy because they sit on the couch. They're not across the table. And you don't want them low intelligence.
But if I had to take someone that was low intelligence and low energy, but had integrity,
you'd make them your accountant.
Okay.
No, they're intelligence. They need to be high intelligence, high integrity. They could have no energy and be the accountant, right?
We have seen people that have had high intelligence and high energy work with all of us and had no integrity. Yeah. And because of it, caused a disaster on their way out the door, wounded deeper than anybody else could have ever wounded. These things are all important. Yet if you're looking at it as the pyramid, high integrity sits at the top of that without any question.
I think that's a smart comment. I think Naval's saying you got to have all 3.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now, you might be able to have friends in your life that have high integrity and low energy and you keep them around. But if you're hiring somebody to do a job, there's no amount of integrity that's gonna cover the fact that they aren't willing to work.
Yeah.
At some point, it's not going to work out, right?
Or they're a bonehead.
Yeah, yeah.
We keep Bob around, though.
Hey, that's so mean. Hey, Naval said, learn to sell, learn to build. If you can do both, you can be unstoppable. This conversation I was having was along the lines of how many companies have we went and acquired or partnered with that built a very great product but had no sales and marketing strategy?
Yeah, it's every company.
That's right. Because the ones that had a great sales and marketing process, we probably couldn't have afforded to acquire.
Yeah.
Right? It actually takes both. You got to build great things, build big businesses, but in order to do that, you have to learn to sell. If I had a child and I was sending them out into the corporate world, man, I would make them spend the first 2 to 4 years selling something. Telemarketing, door knocking, in-person sales. Like, if you're gonna own a business, you gotta understand sales.
My 3-year-old, this kid will talk to anybody on the street, walking by. Like, I'm going to have him out selling something at 5. Like, we're going to be knocking on doors at 5.
And
He's
my
a
daughter is
machine.
the opposite. She won't talk to anybody, especially if I'm around. Like, maybe if I'm not around, she's talking to more people. Yet when she came home the day she said she had to sell cookie dough at school, I wouldn't do it for her, right? Dad, take this into work. I took her in, gave her a sales script. She set the record at the school for how much she sold because I knew the value of teach them to sell early. The difference, though, is how many people are selling something out there that tomorrow could be pulled out from under them. Tomorrow it could be changed. Naval's saying here, you got to learn to sell. Key. And we've taught how to sell on our podcast here. But you also have to learn to build, because if you can do both, then you're unstoppable.
He said, seek wealth, not money or status. Wealth is having assets that earn while you sleep. That sounds like a familiar message.
Sure does.
Money is how we transfer time and wealth. Status is your place in the social hierarchy. If you understand ethical wealth creation, if you understand that it is possible, if you secretly despise wealth, it will elude you. Listen to that. If you secretly despise wealth, it will elude you. If you have that internal dialogue from your dad or your mom or whatever, that rich people are bad, you can never be rich, money will cause you to do bad things, whatever that is, it will elude you. I think any type of pessimism or cynicism like that actually causes the future to elude you.
Ben, if anybody is listening to this and they have not been with us for the first 99 episodes as we've gone through, they need to go to winmakegive.com/wealth. They need to sign up for the wealth series so that we can help them reframe their thoughts about wealth and show them some of these powerful skills that will lead to what we're hearing right here from
I mean, the wealth series, the first episode, the foundation of it was this idea of the ethical wealth, right? Like, why do we need to become wealthy? And those reasons, they're all ethical. I mean, they were noble in many ways.
Ignore people playing status games. They gain status by attacking people playing wealth creation games. A lot of rocks are thrown at people that are working hard and trying to do the right things. I know that we've all been hit by a few of them.
Is it wrong if I say that sounds like a great description of the media?
No. You will get rich by giving society what it wants, but does not yet know how to get at scale.
Like a fast cheeseburger from McDonald's, like that perfect coffee from Starbucks. The companies we've been profiling on the podcast, you're right there, giving them what they want, they didn't know, and at scale.
Naval said, become the best in the world at what you do. Keep defining what you do until this is true. There are no get-rich-quick schemes. Those are just someone else getting rich off you.
Read that one again, Ben.
So good. There are no get-rich schemes. Those are just someone else getting rich off of you. I'm going to have to return that DVD set I got last night from the guy with the gold chains and the Ferrari. Right? He had the boat, the girl, the house, and I could have it all for 3 payments of $99.99.
Do you guys remember there would be an ad in the paper back when people would run that would say, send $5 and we'll show you how to get rich quick. And you would send in the money, and what you got back was, here's the ad to post and tell other people to send you $5 to get rich quick. People would make millions.
That's crazy.
That's actually hilarious. I might do that on Facebook tonight. Hey,
I want a percentage.
Apply specific knowledge with leverage, and eventually you will get what you deserve. Apply specific knowledge with leverage, and eventually you'll get what you deserve. And Naval ends it by saying, when you're finally wealthy, you'll realize it wasn't what you were seeking in the first place. But that is for another day.
We cover that too. We talk about it being the journey, right? Like but becoming finally wealthy, and you look up one day and you're at the top of the mountain. I mean, we talk about it being the journey is what you're enjoying, or what you're that's why.
Yeah, if you can't find a way to enjoy the journey, you aren't going to enjoy the destination.
And then what's the definition of wealth, Ben Kinney?
The ability to do what we want, when we want, with who we want.
And that's what we're going to end up with at the end of it. That's what we were truly seeking, not just wealth.
How long do you think the average person stands at the top of, what's the highest mountain in the world?
Mount Everest.
Mount Everest, once they get there?
I'd probably assume I've never been up there yet. They take it in for a few moments and then they've seen the whole view.
I'd guess 30 minutes, but I don't think on that particular mountain, I don't think you can stay up there very long.
You can't stay up there too long for a variety of reasons. One, the weather changes too quick. Oxygen,
Pressure,
all that stuff. You can't.
Someone behind
right?
you coming up and wanting to get into your space.
That's a good lesson, right?
Yeah.
If you're thinking about this end of the rainbow, this mountain that you're going to get to the top of, and you're making your whole life about it, your whole year, your whole family, everything. When I get here, then blah, blah, blah. And then you realize that you can only stand there for 10 minutes. That's pretty disappointing. That's why so many successful people leave those moments of extreme success and fall into depression. And you saw that when you hear interviews of who's the Olympic swimmer?
Michael Phelps.
Michael Phelps fell into depression after winning. The most winningest point, right? Because you're at the top of the mountain, and then what? Right. We have to find a way to enjoy the journey. Ladies and gentlemen, we highly encourage you to listen to the Naval podcast or check him out on Twitter at NAVAL. Maybe someday he will join us on the Win, Make, Give podcast, except for he doesn't listen to them. But you never know.
Maybe we'll turn the podcast into a book and he'll read it.
I will send Chad off to track him down for us. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to 99 episodes of the Win, Make, Give podcast. Dave, insert some rock song. Is it rock or rap?
Rock.
I got 99 episodes, but this ain't.
Yeah, I mean, it's Jay-Z.
What?
Come on.
You know, that kind of stuff. We hope you stick around and listen to the 100th so you can hear what's coming in season 2.
Well, there's an exciting teaser there for us, Ben. All right, gang, make sure that you're connected at winmakegive.com so you can also hear the announcements that are coming out through the website. Join us in our Facebook group, facebook.com/group/winmakegive, where we will keep you posted on everything. We hope you have enjoyed the first 99 episodes. Go back, check out some of your favorites, because we've got episode 100 coming, and it's going to be a fun one. Until that episode, remember, wash those hands, and as always, do good.